Hello, how do you organize your expenses? How do you categorize your expenses and your receipts? You can keep a paper record or a digital one. I like to keep the paper record if I purchase in store, and I'll keep a digital record if I purchase online. Okay, so if you have a business, you know you should not be purchasing your business or products with your groceries, right? Let me rephrase it. I mean, you can shop, you can go to purchase business products and purchase groceries if they are from the same store. That's totally fine. But you should not pay for those expenses, personal and business expenses, with the same, you should not have them on one transaction, and pay once. So you should pay for business expenses and then pay for your personal expenses, or pay for your personal expenses and then pay for your business expenses. So they should be separate. You should have different receipts for those, so that when you get home you can classify your business receipts. So how do you categorize your expenses? I have some examples here that I like to use to explain my point. So yes, you are going to pay for your business expenses separate from your personal expenses, but even within your business expenses you could classify them, you could categorize them. So a lot of time my husband is, I will say, the director of purchasing and shipping for our business. He does most of our purchasing for anything that will be purchased in store, and I do online shopping most of the time if that's needed. And a little by little I'm explaining it to him, not to, when he's purchasing, he's making multiple purchases, not to pay for all of them in one transaction, depending on what it is. And I have few examples here to explain it. And right now I'm just making a copy of those receipts, because receipts sometimes they can fade, and since I like to keep the paper record, I'm making copies. Everything, some of them were purchased few days ago, so I'm trying to sort through them so that I can make copies. The one that goes together, I can just make one copy, and then I will staple the receipt with it. But let's take an example here. So depending on the business you have, a category expense might be, one product might belong to a category in your business and may not be for another business. So here we have three types of expenses here, or three types of categories, and I wouldn't want to put them together on one transaction. So that's raw materials here, and that's external memory, whatever that is. So this is depreciable because it can last more than a year. This to me is a business supply. It might be a raw material for another business, depending on what they will do with it. That's glue, with brush and glue. So that's business supply, that's depreciable item, and that's raw materials. Oh, and then I think I forgot one. Let me bring it over. So paper cutter, and that's depreciable item as well, because it can last more than a year. So I have receipts here that I have collected, and I wanted to now make copies so that I can put them away, since I'm pretty much trying to put the raw materials away. And I pull that receipt out. So the way I'm trying to do it is I'm trying to pretty much write on top of the receipt so that it's easy to read, because some of them, for instance this one, they put SG for TB. Maybe in some years I may not even remember what that means, so I put external memory, external PC memory on the receipt. And for the Cara, they put 12 trimmer. Frankly, when I saw 12 trimmer, because it was purchased the 20th of May 2021 and today is the 22nd, so it took me a few seconds to remember that it was this, because I didn't purchase it myself. So I wrote paper color on the receipt even before I make copies. So, and then the raw material, I try to describe it because the paper just put PCWVPRPL, so that's quite vague. So I put try to describe it on the receipt. So I'm classifying them before I make copies. The paper current and the external the memory, I'm making copies of that together. Let me see if I already made that. Yeah. So what I like to do when I do this is I would like to write on it depreciable. And then I have 5. So that's the reason why you should classify your expenses, because you have to put them away. You have to put them in folders if you are keeping the paper copies. If you are doing the digital one, it might be good to have different folders on your computer, for instance, and that means you have to save one receipt multiple times if it belongs to different categories. If you have expenses on it, that will go to different categories. So it is a possibility, especially if you purchase something online and you purchase multiple things from one website, you might have to do that. But I like to keep the paper record. And for the depreciable that I make copies, because they are two different purchase different days. I have 2 receipts and I have not made copies yet. I will do it now, so it makes sense for me to put them on one, to make copies together on one paper, and then I will step it together. So I will put it in my mail holder until I record it on my computer, you know, in my my spreadsheet, and then I will file it. So I have my folders here, and I will look for depreciable assets or long-term assets folder, and that will go in that folder. So if you make, that's why when you purchase multiple things that are not from the same category, then you have to make copies of the receipt multiple times so that you can put it in the right folder. The reason why it's important is for the depreciable assets, you might depreciate in 3 years or 5 years. So if you were audited by IRS and you wanted to find those receipts, it is crucial it is easier for you to locate the receipt if you have filed it properly in the first place. So you just look for the year and the folder you should look in. So if that's a depreciable asset receipt you are looking for and it belongs to a year X, then you find your receipt for that year and you find the folder that is for depreciable assets for that year, and you look through it, and chances are you may not have a lot of receipts in 1 year for depreciable assets. At the beginning of your business you might, but over time you won't need to purchase a lot of equipment or a lot of depreciable asset for your business, so you will be able to locate the receipt you are looking for. If you are purchasing raw materials, those are things, if you are your business manufacture things, then you will have multiple receipts for raw materials. You won't want to be looking for your business supplies receipts within your raw materials receipts or the depreciable asset receipt. So it's good to file your receipt properly and to have a folder for every single one of them. So if you have a lot of expenses in your business, you might have one expendable folder that will hold for every single year, and that will hold multiple folders for different type of expenses. And at the end of the year, you can just open, pretty much you can just file the whole things. But if you do not have a lot of expenses, one way you could do that is have one expendable folder. Sometimes you might have, if you have a lot of expenses, it depends on what works for you. You might have one expendable folder by expense type as well. Like depreciable assets will have one expendable folder, and every single year will be one folder. So when you grab the whole expendable folder, everything in it is depreciable asset, for instance. So 1 year will have receipt for that year and so forth. That's one way to do it, but I like to just use one expendable folder for 1 year and have all the expenses in it. But you can do it both ways. Either way that works for you. So now we have the depreciable. It will go in the depreciable asset folder once you record it in your spreadsheet, or if you are using software to track your expenses, you will record it and then you will file your receipt. Okay, so now this one is done. We have raw materials. So raw materials, I will make copy of that as well. So I'm just going to make copy. Maybe. So this one is the business supply. So, and the reason why I make copies is so that if the receipt faded, I will still have the copy that I made. And at this point, I think I can turn it off. And the raw materials, we will file that as well. And it is good to staple the receipt to the copy you made. And frankly, I like to write raw material on it. Because they will be together waiting for me to file, to record them on my spreadsheet. When I pull the receipt, it's easier for me to know right away the category is for. So, and then I have the business supplies. So the business supplies are the glue and its. And whatever goes with it, the brush, I wrote business supply on it, on the receipt before I made a copy. And they all will have, and so that's 3 different type of expenses here. Therefore, different type folder, different 3 folders, and they will be recorded in the expense spreadsheet. And depreciable asset spreadsheet. We do have the depreciable expense spreadsheet at liberdownload.com. We have the PDF, and then we have the summary, and we have the regular the depreciable spreadsheet that has multiple type of asset that can be used for multiple type of asset, including real estate. So we have that at liberdownload.com, and I can put the link in the description as well. And for the other type of expenses, if you don't have a software to track your expenses, we do have expense spreadsheets at Liber Download, but I'm trying to design them to fit specific business type. So I think the one we have there is for L.L.C, and I'm using S Corp one. I have not finalized it for to have it available for sale at the moment, but we do have one for L.L.C. if you file 1065, because I tried to have the lines that the expense will go on your tax return on the spreadsheet to help know where those expenses should be reported on your tax return. So that's why it's very crucial to record your expenses as you purchase items, that because you have a fresh memory of the expense and what you intend to use the product for, and sometimes that will guide you to know how to categorize the item. For instance, that's a raw material. It could be a resale for another business, or it could even be a resale for me as well. But either way, it is you will report the cost of your raw materials as you sell the product, whether it is a resale product, you are reselling it, or you are using it to manufacture another product. You can only claim the cost of the item you sold. Therefore, it does not make sense to put your raw material and your business supply and your depreciable item all together on one receipt. So the business supplies, it is an inventory as well. The raw material is inventory, the business supply is inventory, but they are now in the same category. So your business supplies, you will claim the expense as you use them. So I think another video I will talk a little bit more about business supplies, so how I treat them. But I can say something here. For instance, this glue, for instance, when I start using it, I will take it out of the inventory right away, including the cost. But some other things that you can count. Okay, so let's say we have two glues here. So if I start using this one, I will take it out of the inventory. I will try to see how much I use to take it out of the inventory, or at the end of the year, see how much I use to report that as an expense. So I will take it out of the inventory. So that means on my spreadsheet, I will report this on my spreadsheet as out of the inventory for that amount, and then this one will be in inventory. So that means if next year I don't finish all of this year, and next year I still use it and I don't purchase another one, I don't have to claim it again. I won't claim it twice or anything, so I only claim it once. But for things that you can count, it's easier to count, then the one you use, you take them out of the inventory, take their cost out of the inventory, and that's why you report on your taxes at the end of the year. So it's good to know your expenses to know how to classify them. As for the memory, it can last more than a year. Therefore, it's depreciable assets. It will go on a depreciable spreadsheet depreciation spreadsheet, and you need to know how much you can claim in 1 year. So there are expenses that you will claim right away some year, and there are some that you can only claim what was sold or what was used. So therefore, don't put all your expenses in one receipt and just put the total on your spreadsheet. You won't know what portion you should claim at the end of the year on your taxes and what portion you should not claim. So keeping clean accounting processes in your business will make your tax season easier. So yeah, less stressful. So that's how I classify my expenses. And now that I'm working on different type of expenses at the same time, I thought it would be a good time to address that issue. Thank you so much for your time. I'm Afiavi Ojone Liberman, creators of Liberman Consulting LLC YouTube channel, Liberman Consulting LLC podcast, and ninasoap.com, our blog. Thank you so much for watching our videos. We thank you for all your comments, and thank you so much you all that subscribe to our channel. We do have our online stores, including our natural product store, ninasoap.com, digital products, liberdownload.com, custom apparels and stationery, liberlabel.com, and business supplies at liberoutlets.com. Thank you so much for your time.